this episode we'll be looking into what makes a Space Marine, how to use your shades and what not to do with them, and fallback rules. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of my series on the Warhammer 40,000 Conquest subscription. We get shades, so finally some new paints to do something different with your army. Non-oil, which you'll find they'll tell you to do more on the dark metallics like the silver bits, but I mean you can use it on the cloths as well, so that makes things look different. And Agrax Earthshade, ask any hobbyist out there, you can use this for literally anything, so we'll get into that later on. Now let's have a look in here. So the making of a Space Marine, so they just give you a little bit of the lore on how a Space Marine is chosen and a little bit of the background, all 19 of the G-Seed organs as well, and what they do, and the additional 3 that the Primaris Marines have. And then we get into the realm of Ultrama, so we learn about Guilliman's empire. And as you can see where all the major systems are, where some of the home worlds of some chapters are, and strategic points. And then we get into Successor Chapters. So this is where we get the first mention of the Silver Templars, which purpose-made chapter for this series. And they look pretty cool, and with the colours you got so far you can do the majority of that, minus the yellow of course, so you can paint them up. And then you got other successor chapters of the Ultramarines, so a successor chapter being a chapter of Space Marines who use the same gene seed as the Primarch of the original Legion. So the original Legion was the Ultramarines, who had the GC from Rebuta Guilliman, and they use the same gene seed. They just have different tactics and come from different worlds. Right, then we go through the painting series. So let's go. Got the shades and everything. I'll throw in a couple of helpful tips for you just to make it interesting, but it is quite a simple thing to do, and you can get it done real quick. And don't be disappointed by it, because it's a way of catching up on your painting if you have fallen behind. So next week you can be ready for the librarian. And then we go through about tactical retreat. We've got some rules updates as well, and yeah, it's really short because tactical retreat is not that long to describe. Got a cool little scenario for this week and the additional rules, and that's it. And of course, issue 8, Primaris Librarians. So we get to learn a bit more about the Primaris, especially librarians, and of the Space Marines, and we get to use psychic abilities, which would be great. And then issue 9, more Poxwalkers, but you can't have too many. So yeah, that's it. Let's get cracking. Alright, so for this issue we didn't get any more models, but we got some shades. It's not too complicated. It just, you know, a little bit of practice here and there, but I got some handy tips. So first thing is you always do give these a real good shake. Second thing is fresh water, and do use a palette. Okay, I know the instructions in the book say to take it from the pot, but in my experience it's always best to get some on the palette, for 2 reasons really. One, you can get more control on how much of the shade you have on your brush, but also because you don't want to risk knocking over the pot while it's open. As you can see, they are a lot taller and a lot easier to spill over. But as a handy little tip, right, whenever you are doing any painting with washes, get a bit of blue tack, whack it on the bottom, just stick it down on your counter or on your side, wherever, yeah, and that way you don't risk it falling over by accident if you do have it open. Simples. Alright, so I've got some examples here. You see I've given it a real good shake. Just a regular brush. Get what you want onto the palette, like so. Don't worry about it going up the furrow because it is just a shade, so it washes out real easy. So once you've got enough, close it. Don't want it drying out, and you also don't want to spill it, even if you got a blue tack, just in case. Right, so get what you need on the brush, and for the non-oil, so the blackish one, you want to go on all the silver surfaces, like so, and just really fill in those details. You don't want too much because you'll blot out all the detail. You just want enough to, as you can see, just enough to shade the deeper areas, like so. Okay, there we go, nice and easy. And if you have too much, you can always just push it around. That's another good thing about shades. Chainmail as well, it's a nice easy one to do. Space Marines, like if any of their swords as well. And you got like little bits that you've painted silver, just gently, carefully go around the edges. Yeah, the exhaust vents, I did those silver. You may or may not have yourself, but I did. And Foxwalkers, of course, you can go as heavy as you like. I would suggest go a bit heavier with the washes with the Poxwalkers, because you want them to look, and the same with the Death Guard, to be honest, because you want them to look as dingy as possible. Agrax Earthshade, again, blue tack. Don't want to risk knocking it over and spilling it and wasting it for one thing, or getting it all over your lovely painted models. So get what you need, and this time we're going over the gold areas. Okay, like so. Like that. Egrax Earthshade is just going to go on these little talismans and anywhere that you painted with the Retributor gold, just to dirty down that gold and make it look a bit more brassy. And the same with these chaps as well, and then across the shoulder guards as well. Really want to go a bit heavier around those rivets to really emphasize them. And if you do go over, like on the shoulder pad I went a little over, what you got to do is rinse your brush off and dry the worst of it, just keep it slightly wet and just run your brush along where you spilled over, and the brush will pick it up, like so. Right, and that's really it. It's so easy. So I know it doesn't seem like you got a lot for this issue because there's no miniatures, but just think of it as you got a bunch of miniatures already. You've got 6 Plague Marines, you've got 3 Reavers, 3 Intercessors, a Lieutenant, 6 Poxwalkers. Get those shades done, and then they'll look fantastic, and then you'll be ready for issue 8 when you get the Librarian. Sweet. So in this issue we learn about falling back. It's quite a simple thing to learn, and let's just blast right through it. So when you're in combat, your unit is generally within 1 inch of an enemy unit, like so. If you wish to fall back, all you need to do is move your unit away from the enemy unit and make sure that they finish their move at least 1 inch away from any enemy units. So for this unit to fall back, they move 6 inches, so go full 6 inches, like so, and there you go, they're falling back. It is worth noting that this is done in your movement phase, and if a unit does fall back, it cannot move, it cannot advance, charge or shoot later in the turn. So falling back a unit is like doing a tactical retreat. It's really handy. If your unit is suffering massive losses and you wish to get a new unit in there to really engage with the enemy, hold them up, or even just be a distraction, then this is the perfect tactic for you. By pulling them away, you open up this space that would be blocked by this unit otherwise. So this unit could then declare its charge and run straight in there and do its thing. This also allows you to so yeah, basically it's a great holding tactic, and it's also great for keeping those units alive and allowing them to take some damage but not be completely wiped out. Now there are certain scenarios where retreating is impossible, like this scenario right here. This unit has been completely surrounded and there's nowhere that they can move without moving through an enemy unit, which is something that you cannot do. So if you do wish to hold an enemy unit down in one spot and bog them down, buy yourself some time, or just get one of the enemy's really tough units stuck where they don't want them to be stuck, this is the perfect tactic for you. In this week's replay mission, you get to face off the Death Guard and the Ultramarines in a deadly battle over a container full of G-Seed, a very precious material that the Space Marines need in order to indoctrinate and create new Space Marine. This genetic material is so important that they are willing to lay down their lives in order to secure it from the enemy. But the Death Guard, they're going to want it so they can do the twisted experiments with it and create more Plague Marines. So to represent this objective marker will be used, and it's placed right in the middle there. The Ultramarines will be using 3 Reavers in a unit and Lieutenant Calcius, whereas the Death Guard will be using all 6 Poxwalkers and 5 of the Plague Marines, one of which will be a Plague Champion with the Power Claw. So both players will roll off to see who goes first, and the one who finishes deploying first will go second when doing their turns. You want to obviously use these points to deploy your units from, so for example like that, and then have the rest of the unit with each model within 2 inches to form unit cohesion. In order to secure the gene seed, all you have to do is move a model onto the objective marker and then move it back to your deployment zone. Once you've done that, you have won the mission. If by any chance the one who is holding the gene seed is removed from play, then the objective marker stays exactly where it is until another model moves on top and moves away with it. So in the replay extra rules section, we go back to listing the plasma gun on the Plague Champion, and you'll see that this actually can shoot twice within 18 inches now. So you do your normal roll to hit, then it wounds on a 2+, and the enemy has to make a save of a 6+. If you do roll a 1 on a roll to hit though, it explodes and you remove the shooter from play. The Death Guard also have a special rule called Inexorable Advance. Death Guard units can fire twice with their rapid fire weapons, so plasma guns and bolt guns at a range of 18 inches. So not these guys with the blight launchers, these guys with the bolt guns, and your Plague Champion with his plasma gun. But the Space Marines have something up their sleeve as well. They have Codex Discipline. So all Ultramarines units can still shoot in their turn in which they fall back. If they do so, they hit on a 4+ rather than a 3+ in the shooting phase. So very simple enough. So instead of having the full penalty of falling back where they cannot move, charge or shoot, they can still shoot. It's just a little bit harder to shoot as they fall back. And there you have it. Those are the rules. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. Please like, subscribe and comment below, and all the links are in the description for my social media. Cheers.